Hello everybody, back with my 2003 BMW Z4 3.0 liter 6-speed manual. Today I wanted to show you guys how to diagnose and correct for a fault code of a P0456 Evap Emission system leak. In my case, my scanner was telling me that it was a very small leak, so I went about driving the car for a couple months with the issue still present on the dash, and it would give me slight hesitation in the RPMs when I was shifting gears, specifically when I was getting off the gas to shift, but nothing too significant that really gave me a sense of urgency. So I kind of put it off for a little bit, but I finally found the time and took care of it. There's two ways that I checked for the actual leak in the air intake side of the vehicle right here. The first was just hooking up a smoke machine and running the car and seeing essentially where the smoke's coming out of. The second one, I went ahead and just disassembled. So I didn't do the smoke this time around, I just took it all apart. But we have the air box here that you can inspect, the O2 sensor rig here, and then the majority of the air intake side here, and then the air intake boot. So in my case, as I was taking everything apart, I realized it was the air intake boot. I'll show you how to do that in just a second, but this is the old part here that I just used some black electrical tape in the meantime to kind of hold it by to give me a little better driving experience, but by no means necessary. But I just had a bunch of ripples and breaks between the ribs here on this boot. And the part number, if you're interested, if this is your issue as well, you can find it right there, the 135. And I bought this part through FCP Euro this time around for about $34, $35, so it wasn't too expensive. That's US. But let's go ahead and give you guys a deep dive down on how to disassemble this. So you start with the air box here. You have two size 10 bolts, and then you just unhook the latches that are on the sides of your air box. So you have air filter box. So you have one here, one here, one here, and then connected to your O2 sensor compartment, you just have silver latch here that you want to just use your finger on, or a flathead if this is too hard for your finger, but you have one there and one there as well. So once that's off, just the top half of the filter box is going to come out, the bottom half will stay in, and that's fine. And then everything else you can use either a flathead or a size 7 bolt. So I just went ahead and used a size 7. I undid this and undid this, and you can either leave this O2 sensor on if you don't want to undo this, but you have to at least unplug it by just lifting up here with a flathead and gently pulling this out, teasing this out. Then down here you have this guy will now be taken off, and what you're going to be finding is that this piece is essentially the last piece that you have to be dealing with, and this is situated in the car just like this. So you at that point don't have to undo this one, because this one that's currently facing us right now here is going to be attached to a plastic ring essentially, and this ring serves as an intermediate kind of receiver for both the upper portion of the boot and the lower portion of the air intake boot. So once you get that out of the way, you have a small air tube coming down to the front side here, and I just used a flathead and some gentle patience to try and work that out. Be careful not to break the joint, the plastic joint, the 90-degree joint there, because that was giving me a little rough time. So when I put that back in, I did add a little bit of lube just in case I needed to get it back off in the future. And then onto the engine itself, it was a little harder to do, but it did all come out. I went ahead and unloosened everything first before I completed taking it off the engine. You know, there was a clamp here on the small upper boot, or on the small upper portion of the boot, and then the lower portion of the boot here, the fatter end. These both went into the engine. I undid both of those, and then this one right here is the one that you see heading back to this portion of your air intake system that is a little bit harder. So This piece right here, the actual boot itself, is the only rubbery portion of this whole system, so you're gonna have to do most of the bending and playing with this guy to kind of get everything else out of the way, and try not to put too much force onto the back plastic component, because it's definitely hard and you don't want to break that, because that does not look cheap. So left all that in place, kind of teased it out from the back first and then pulled it out in one go from the engine. So I did 1, 2, and then I just unloosened 3, 4, and 5, pulled off 3 first, and then 4 and 5 came off together. To put it back on, I just reversed it, put on 4 and 5, reattached 3, reattached 2, and then put on 1. So if you guys are having any issues or need me to actually show you how to do it, by all means leave a comment and I'll do it again for you, but it's pretty self-explanatory. I think just finding your air leak is going to be the harder part. So the good news is, you know, my leak was again just in this rib cage here, and that can be easily viewed right there. All right guys, hope this helps, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.